So yeah, let's see the end to this. Also, I noticed the end, yeah. I think I mentioned this before. I didn't mention it before. I had to re-record it because my sound was in the way. I know this isn't the end, but sort of, and this is the point that I'm going to talk a bit about. This is the end of where the anime took place. So this whole thing, I'll be doing this, getting the books, buying the books, etc., etc., etc. And then eventually, I'm making 1 minute reviews at the beginning of streams when I used to stream daily, and then going to starting to actually review some of the books I've read, including comics of this, was all because of this. I reviewed the original anime series, and someone said that you should buy Moriarty patriot books because there's a bit more in it. Which I agree, there's Moneypenny and later on Billy the Kid. But Billy the Kid wouldn't ever appear in the anime, even if they did perfectly do a 1-to-1. And that's because he's not in until later, so he's not going to be in this. So that's one thing which I was like, this I will mention because it kind of is big because of that. And the one thing which I like is most of this is the major things. And I'll actually talk about that. So, you open this book and you slowly are getting reviewed with they're actually laying the plan down. And obviously first things first, well, didn't Sherlock supposedly claim that and actually did, which you could question who did, because technically Moriarty and Sherlock shot, so who did is up to interpretation. And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to leave it to them. But the house was burned down. There was no evidence of anything. And realistically, because of how the bodies works, and it was near the sea, there's no bodies. And even if there was, it's a gunshot. So, you're not really going to get much. So besides Sherlock saying, I did this, back with them, you have nothing. So they don't arrest him. Which is interesting. And this lets them to sort of reveal the sort of Sherlock. And you have several characters talking to each other about this. Because Sherlock's going around doing the killings. Killing people on a big scale. Which I think is really interesting. And the one thing which I like is slowly within this, you actually see the backlash, some of the other, like Moriarty brothers taking a back seat in this, learning more, and sort of doing this as a fun way. With different characters trying to be like, maybe we shouldn't actually go through this because Moriarty takes most of the blame, which is interesting. And slowly but surely, characters' decisions slowly impact what should be done. And you also get this moment of Sherlock realizing what has happened and figuring out what is the play and how we can do something about it. I also realized it doesn't actually end here. It's on 14 where they actually do the big final, but this is mostly the talking part. So that was a bit premature of me doing the first part on like, but yeah, there's one more. Oh yeah, that's actually good. It actually means it's less likely because that would mean there's like 5 because it would be 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Sometimes I'm an idiot. But the one thing that I do find is interesting, and this is not just spoilers, this is spoilers in general, and that's this book cover. Because a lot of the time they do they do Moriarty and the Sherlock side on side by side. And I think they keep that up until after the thing, where they don't really keep this rule because you have a couple of them, then you, I think, have more Sherlock characters and Moriarty's at this point. I mean, you have Billy the Kid, who's kind of not on a side. And there is no sides at this point. We're all on one side. But the one thing which I like is this one. This, if I'm correct, if you're not mistaken, this is James Bond, who's on 13, which is the odd numbers, which is basically Moriarty's side. But you might know, this is Irene Adler, who's been on a front cover, and I think it's an even number, which is Sherlock's usual. Like, he has the even numbers, Moriarty has the odd numbers, which I find is interesting, as Irene Adler, aka James Bond, is now on that side, which I think is just fun. Besides completely effing up the fact that this ended, there actually is. I thought it did. I even mentioned it the last one where I was like, oh, it ends, and it actually isn't. They actually have a joke at the end being like, oh yeah, side by side. Whereas like they have a thing. They do at the end of the page where it's like, you see, there's a thing out there being like, oh, we stand side by side, and it's like, and then there's the joke of like two people next to each other being like side by side, and it's really funny. It's like this much, and it's like a couple of slides, but it's like really funny. Anyway, the moment's emotional, but yeah, I do love this. And I do love this whole series. But yeah, I hope you enjoy, and good night.